Hello and welcome to Stream Tabulous. So we're going to take a look at Krita today, and we're going to take a look at it a little bit more in depth with how to use the AI diffusion of it. Now that is a plugin which is downloaded separately. Krita and the plugin are both free. The AI runs locally on your system, which is a good thing in my opinion, because you're not relying on a cloud, internet dropouts or anything like that. You have more freedom. You don't have to worry about your work being stolen. Now, it does work best on a NVIDIA graphics card, and the good news is it will run on older NVIDIA graphics cards. I'm just running it on an old GTX 1070. So if you've got a older system like myself, you will be able to run this. Now, Krita is like Adobe Photoshop or like Corel Paint Shop Pro. So it's essentially an alternative to that. And the plugin, which is AI Diffusion, is an alternative to Adobe's Generative Fill or to Corel's Vision FX. It does run locally, as I mentioned, and it works pretty much the same as Adobe, and we'll talk about that after the intro, and I'll show you how to use it more properly so you have a better understanding of what you're doing. And what we will be doing is taking a look at something like this image that I have here in the background and changing elements of that image and how to do it. Because with Adobe, they've dumbed it down. With AI diffusion in Krita, it's a little more end user. You have more control, you can do more with it, but it means that you have to know how to use it a little bit better. So we're going to take a look at that right after the intro. Okay, so I've got my image opened up here, and for me, because I'm running an old system, I have reduced the image size. If you need to do that, just click on image here, and you want to come down to scale image to a new size, and then you can make sure the links are linked, and then you can reduce the size of it, apply it. Now, as I've talked about in the previous videos on this, there is more customization, so you can add other models. So if you're not getting a result that you're happy with, you can try different models. That's something you cannot do in Adobe. Now, what is a benefit of Adobe over this? The only real benefit is it's dumbed down. Their selection tool is a one-click selection. So if we come down to our rectangle and we were to select something like the lounge here, with Adobe, it's all preset. So what will happen basically is it's automatically snapping to highlight the lounge rather than actually highlight the wall with it. So you can sometimes get away with that by going through and holding your shift button down and using the magic tool until you've done your entire lounge. So that is something you can do. A little bit more time consuming. For this one, we're just going to basically show you how to get the images that you're looking for, and it will require probably needing to go through and just blend some of the edges. Now, something you want to know about is we come through to the settings and we come down to diffusion. We have our sizes here for our buffer of the outside. So we want to reduce that because we want them as low as possible. But I'm not going to go down to 0. I'm just going to put these to 1. Okay. So with Adobe, it has the same thing. If you've watched any videos on the Adobe Generative Fill, when someone selects the outside of it, there is a buffer which they adjust, which expands what they're actually selecting so they get that little bit more. So that's essentially what that does, but it's doing it on the AI side. Now, when we come through, this is some of the tricks that you'll need to know. If we select the lounge here, let's just say we want a grey lounge. Now, I will mention to keep in mind that I am recording this and I'm using my GPU to encode the video while I'm recording. So this is going to run a lot slower than what you're running. So I may be pausing every now and then and jumping forward. Now, the first time you're on a model and you click run, it will take a little bit longer because it needs to load up that model before it does its render. So now I've just done Grey Lounge and selected the Grey Lounge, and we're going to see that this shouldn't really work. And I'll explain why. I'll explain why a little bit, why it's actually running. What's happening with Adobe is it's using your image as the control, and then Adobe have already adjusted all the strengths and the presets in there, so you don't have to do that. Which is good in one way and bad in another way. For anyone that has used the Adobe, you'll find that it's hit and miss with your renders, and you have to do a lot of them, because when you're doing those renders, it is adjusting those buffers in the background for the way it actually is doing its weight set. With this one here, it's just already on the full strength. So you need to go through and know how to adjust that and to manipulate it, rather than it being an automated process like Adobe does. Of course, when Adobe selects, it does also snap to size around it. When I'm selecting, I'm actually selecting the whole thing. If you want more accurate, use the lasso tool and come through and actually lasso your lounge. Okay, so we're going to click on background. We're going to reduce that strength down. I'm going to try it on 65%, and I'm going to run it again. Now, what that is telling it is it's telling the AI to pay attention to my image more and not to just go free willy-nilly, which is pretty much what was happening there and why we didn't really get anything decent. Now, you will have to make sure that you're on your background when you're running your renders, and the reason for that is up here where we have adding the control layer. We haven't actually added a control. We're just letting it do its thing. And we can see here we have our lounge, we have our before, and we have our after. And we can see that it is matching the floor and it is blending in exceptionally well. So I've got my grey lounge. Now what you will notice, if I deselect that, is you'll notice there's a little bit of a frame running around the outside edge. And that's what I mean. There's, with Adobe, it would have snapped to that when you selected it. If we select it with that, you'll get a better looking result, because you're not going to be getting those major buffer blur-ins where it's trying to match it to the image. But the beauty here is, of course, we can actually go through and we can actually just erase and we can blend in. So it's not too hard to manipulate and work with. So again, all we'd be doing is we'd be coming down to our eraser tool, we'd be unlocking our image, and then we'd just simply probably drop the opacity down, and we'd just be blending those edges a bit. So if you go down lower than that, you just sort of do that to blend it in. It creates a bit of a shadow on your lounge. So it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. And if you're not getting the results that you're wondering why, that's it. We didn't have to create a control. All we had to do is reduce the strength. Different models, different results. And we can see here that that's an absolutely fantastic lounge. Now, what happens if we want to add a cat to this lounge? Okay, so we'd select on the layer that we're working on, which is this layer here. I'm just going to apply that. So now that is an applied layer that I can actually work on. And we already have it as unlocked. So if we come through and we just select here, so we put white cat laying, and then we're going to hit generate, and we're going to see what happens. Now you've noticed I've used the lasso tool to select the area that I want the white cat. Now, Adobe does something predefined in the background with its plugin to take advantage of Stable Diffusion. Now you can see here, my cat sort of just mixed in with the lounge. It didn't really work the way we want. So what we want to do is we want to come down to our lounge again here and deselect that cat. What we want to do is come down to the paint tool, turn that up, adjust our paint tool down to a smaller size, come down to white. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint a blob in here. Now, sometimes you use a multicolored image. Now, something you need to know about the models is, and a lot of confusion that people get, is they think that there's images in the models. There are no images in the model. It's in the word stable diffusion. Diffusion is if you've done anything with chemistry, you'll understand that it is dispersing something. It is breaking it up into multiple parts. So I don't know chemistry, but I do know computers. So what it is actually doing with the image is it is breaking it up, and it is not storing the whole image at all. That is a complete misconception. It will take something like the eye, and then it will label it so it understands what that eye is. There is no full image in the models at all. They are trained on full images, but in no way and in no means are those images actually in the model. And with Adobe, the secret sauce to the way they're using their plugin is the way I've just painted it here. When you're selecting an area, it is pre-doing this in the background. The likelihood is, if you understand more on the way diffusion works, is you get a color of blocks of static, and then the AI is using those as references to build its information. So sometimes dropping down a static image of colors is better. So you could download a static color image, put that in as something like your textures or your patterns up the top here, and you could paint it with a static. But in this case, we're just going to go white. And of course, we are selected on there, and we're going to run it again. And what we're going to see is we're going to see better results because the AI now has a reference of what looks like a mess to you and me, but to the AI, it's like, well, that's white. I'm doing a white cat. Oh, look, there's a bit of a head shape there. I can put my head shape there, and then you get your cat. So, and we can do high quality. Well, I hope I'm spelling that right. Now, of course, I'm working at a lower resolution. If you're working at a higher resolution, you will get better results than what I'm actually getting here. So, and that's how we manipulate it. And you can do that anywhere. You can do that on the wall, which will come up, and we'll show you some tricks there as well to give you a better understanding. So now we've got our cat, and you can see it's redoing just like Adobe. It is redoing the lounge. It had the information for the lounge there and is basically trying to stick with it. I like this cat here. I'm going to stick with that one. It looks less derpy. No one wants a derpy. Oh, well, I love derpy cats, so that's me. So now we have our cat. So let's take a look at this painting up here. That'd be an interesting one to do. So we're going to select our painting. And Adobe will have the same problems with this. I don't know if anyone's tried to do a painting on the wall. I certainly did when I was using Adobe. And it'd break it up into mini images because it has the same problems with what we have with Stable Diffusion, because it is using Stable Diffusion. The more Stable Diffusion evolves, the better this will get in both using the Krita with the AI Diffusion and both in Adobe. The more the models are trained with more references, then the better that model will actually work. So we're going to come through here, and we're going to put large oil painting on beach canvas. That's spelled right. Okay. So we want to click our background. Make sure you click the layer that you're working on, and then we want to hit generate. And we'll see if we can get this with a one hit. I ran out of credits when I tried Adobe in less than 3 hours trying to fix up a photo for someone because the renders were just atrocious. It was one after the other, after the other, after the other. We can see here I've actually got a fantastic image. I'm actually ecstatic over that one, and we've got two images, and they're both beautiful images. This one sort of cuts off that little chunk there, so I actually do prefer that one. And we can just render as many as we want. And keep in mind, I am running a GTX 1070. I am encoding OBS's recording through my graphics card right now. And we can see that we're getting really good speeds. And the speeds are generating equally as fast as what I was getting with the internet in Australia with the Adobe Generative Fill. So that pretty much says something right there alone. So there we go. We've got some really beautiful paintings. I'm really drawn to that one there. So we'll apply that one, which now gives us our layer there for our image. Whoop, come over there. Just deselect. So now I have my layer. Okay, and we can see that one's actually blending really well. And the reason it's blending really well is it was tight to the image. So again, as I mentioned with the lounge, you really want to snap it onto it. So if you use the freehand selection tool and spend that time selecting, you'll have better results. I have a neurological muscle condition. Doing freehand tracing is horrible. I also have a completely buggered right arm, which makes it even harder to do the selections there. So I don't mind fanning it in. I find that is a lot easier for me. Now, again, anyone that's used Adobe will find if you're trying to remove something, it will generally make something to fill that area, then remove it. It is a lot of work to remove something. They have a removal tool in there, which is AI, which is fantastic. I'm not aware, but I will have to look into if there is a AI removal tool for Krita. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put blank there. Normally we'd type something like remove. Now, I've got a funny feeling this is probably going to make something, so we'll see. You can see this works the same as Adobe. Okay, so we're getting shelves and stuff like that. We can put that strength up. Putting the strength up, it's going to start ignoring the background. So it's ignoring that fan blade, which it's turning into a shelf, and it will start to do its free will, which is not always a good thing, because when it starts to do free will, sometimes it will just ignore what you're typing up the top there. So we've got a good image there. We're not getting that color gradient, that bleed through that we really want, but at the same time, this is usable. I would just manually clone out the fan for this one. Quick and easy isn't always quick and easy. So we can see that. We'll put it up to 100%. So this is the same problem that you will run into with Adobe, is you can select things and you can try to type the word remove in, you can hope it will remove it. Sometimes it just doesn't do that, it creates something else. So that's one of the things you use a lot of your generative credits in Adobe because of that little confusion that the AI gets. It's not really like a mistake per se. It is or a error. It's just the AI not quite understanding what it's meant to be doing. That's something, as I mentioned, will evolve over time. So we can reduce that down again. We can put blank wall, so we can try to give it more information. I think if I put the word green in there, it'd be too green. It's not going to probably understand blend, but we can try blend, but it'd probably come up with something like a blender. So it's here there. We'll let that generate. You can see we're getting some really odd stuff. We'll drop it down to 85%. So this is where all AI will have issues removing things. Okay. So we get an idea there. What we can do is we're going to come down. I'm going to hide that layer for a moment so I can actually see what I'm doing. We'll deselect, and we're going to try just highlighting the fan. It's so difficult for me. And to help that. a lot of pain in the hands wanting to tremor, so I'm just fighting myself, which is rather frustrating. But that's not bad. I'm slower than what you guys would be at doing it. Okay, now we've selected that. We come back up, we'll enable that layer. We made sure that we're on the background. Now we'll hit generate. And we'll see what we get now, because it should be concentrating just on the area I've selected. So hopefully we get a better result. There we go. Now we're getting it painted out a lot better. So that's easier to clean up than what we had before. We can put the word blurring. Maybe we can get some green with a blur. I actually really like this one because that would be really quick and easy just to blend out and blend in with our background. Yeah, those blurs aren't the best. So we can come down, we'll apply that one. We'll deselect. And we can see here that we've got an image which is quite usable there. And, you know, it would not be hard to come through and, whoop, I'm on the wrong layer. It wouldn't be hard to come through and just, now we can just sort of blend that in. You get the gist of it anyway. So we can come through, we can smudge it, we can blur it, we can blend that in a lot easier, and it saves us some time. So that shows that actually selecting the image and doing the lasso around it, which is one of the secret sources of Adobe, you might be using the big rectangle tool, but it is snapping and it is working out by what you're typing of what it should be doing with the lassoing. So now we can come back down here and we can change our plant, and we'll just use this tool again. Select our plant. We'll just type up the top here, large pot plant. Okay. We'll hit generate. We can press this multiple times and we can get quite a few generations happening up there. And if you want to kill one of them, you just click on it and you can go cancel active, cancel queued, or cancel all. So, and that will give us some differences. So we'll just go cancel queued. We'll let that finish. And there's one pot plant there. Now, if we turn this up, it will start ignoring our background. If we turn it down, it will start basing the image that it's rendering on what we have there. So that's the pot plant, the wall, the background. And again, you can see here, those blend-ins aren't as good as what Adobe does with the way that that blends in. I don't know if we can... There we go. So again, come down to background, select that, bring that down more to 60%, generate it, and we just play with it until we get what we're looking for. Miss some of the leaves when I'm generating this, so this will actually be interesting to see if it matches the image to the existing leaves that we have. And it did, which is a really good thing to see. So we're... I just... Oh, that. That. Okay, so it's a base image in the background. So it's snapping in and it's actually doing a really good job of working out what it's doing there. And we can take that down further. So we have it there as well. So we're getting similar sort of plant. So we can change that. So we can put the word square pot in there. We can do whatever we need to. But you have an idea of how that's actually... I'm going to come down to that background. And we're going to try and lasso the plant. But I'm going to lasso that as well. At least this one's a little bit easier. It's not a straight line, so my hand's not fighting so bad. The more I do it, the more it wants to fight. Trace that. And of course, you can play with those buffer zones, and you can reduce them and those blurs. Okay, so we'll do that. And we're on the selected background. We will generate. And we're on 35% strength, and we'll see what results we get. So we can see from the original that we're doing a number of changes and getting what we want. And exactly like Adobe. There's no real difference in it. So that's because we're on 35%. So we need to go stronger with that. So we're going to crank that up and try 80%. And we'll see how it goes with fitting a plant into our selected frame. Render. So plant's pretty much the same, even though it's re-rendered. And again, you can use different models as well. Okay, now that's a different plant. There we go. We can go stronger, 90%. So I like that leafy plant. I like the fact that it's removed down here. It's put another little plant next to it. I think that is fantastic. And we can see those blends happen a little bit better. Adobe does blend better with the background. So we're not limited to a one model, which when you're using Adobe, because it's on the cloud, you don't have a selection of models at this stage. I have a feeling later on, due to people having different styles and doing cartoons and animations, they will change away from just having realistic and probably have a selection where you can select more models. So we can see here we've got a different plant. It's cut off a bit there. We can probably drop that strength back, and that will tell it to pay more attention to our original image, so hopefully this will fit better. We're getting some of the greens. I think what it's doing here is it's actually creating shadows. Those shadows aren't blending the best. So, yeah, you need cleanup, but you need cleanup in Adobe as well. So, yeah, that's a better image. We can bring that down, try 70%. So you have the option to use different models, and different models will give different results. You can see that kind of blended. There's that buffer that we put in of the one, meaning it's going outside of what it's doing there. Well, I really like that one. We'll deselect. Again, a little bit of cleanup that you'll need to do. But considering this is 100% free, no catches, no subscriptions, and it's running locally off your system, and you can select anything you want, we see we don't have the issue down here. We've got shadows created, which is really nice for its blending. We can see here that it's blending really well with the wall. We can see that's the original. So we can see that we are getting blending in. Double clicked it, so it's put our image down here. We'll just click that. We've got this weird sort of picture frame happening there. So, but you get an idea. So everything that we can do with Adobe, we can do in this. The secret sauce is if you want more accuracy to actually lasso rather than just a big selection. And if you're trying to render something new, just put a little bit of a blob in there. So if you want to generate a black cat or whatever, I'd probably suggest doing that. We can probably come down, try to find my cat layer. One cat layer there, that's the painting. Take that out. Got that one out. That's the lounge. I think, yep, we've got the blob on the lounge. So again, we can come down and take that lounge and we can try to, we'll just see what happens. We'll select our cat and we'll type in so I'm going to put ginger cat laying. Now on that selected layer, we've selected our blob, so we know that we're working on that layer. I have the Epic Realism model running at the moment. I'm just going to run that. And we'll see if we get an orange cat. I haven't tried this, so this will be interesting. Yeah, see, it's having difficulty because what it's doing is it's trying to match this orange here to work it out. So it really struggled doing that. So if we get rid of that, we come down to our cat layer. If we were to come through and actually give it an orange tone to that, I'll leave some of that white on it. Then we generate. I'd imagine that we'd get a better result. This is the first time I've done this. I've done it with grey, I've done it with a black cat. I haven't tried a ginger cat. There we go, specifically after I've painted a blob down. So there's our cat. So you can see there that sort of Adobe's doing in the background, it's going by that, and if there's a color there, it's just generating that color in your selection, and that is what's helping to give it the secret sauce. So this is how you do it in this. It's the same if you wanted to put something in, if you're not getting it. So say you're not getting a plant over here and you want a plant over there, you want to paint that in. So for example, we're still on lounge, so we'll come through and we'll paint a bit of a pot. Don't know how this will go. We'll see if we can paint a bit of a stick. Oh, actually, I've got a better idea. Go leaves. So we're just going to do this. Okay. So I've made a mess. I'm going to select that mess. And again, pot, plant, render. We're on our selection there. So if you're trying to put something in and you're not getting it because it doesn't have enough reference colors, or reference static, reference images, then you can just simply blop something in. It's the same if you're replacing the background on someone. You can just go through and do that as well. And you can see there, it knows what it's using, so it has a better understanding of what it's actually putting in there. And that's the tricks. And then it's just playing with strength. You can create a control layer if you want and put it as an image. I find you don't really have to do that. You can see there I have my original plant. So from there I can just work it up in small steps, keep rendering until I get what I want. You can see it's created a bit of a base there. It started to put the shadows in. It started to form the leaves, but we're not quite there yet. So putting that strength up a little bit will start bringing that image to life and creating what we want. We can see there, that's a good little pot. Probably wouldn't go much stronger than that. I'll put it up another 10% and we'll see what we render. So that's the tricks to it. It is as powerful as the Adobe Generative Fill. In my opinion, it is stronger than Adobe Generative Fill. It's just more end user. You need to know what you're actually doing to do it. So add that cat to the layer. I'll add that plant to the layer, deselect. So from there, you'd just be blending in. So, you know, there is a little bit of a cleanup, but there's a cleanup in the Adobe as well. So there it is. That's Krita with the AI Diffusion, and it is more powerful than Adobe. You just have to know those little tweaks to that magic sauce to get it actually working the way you want it and to manipulate it. Where Adobe, you know, it's a little bit dumbed down, which takes away the power, but makes it that little bit more user-friendly. Personally, I like having the ability to change the models and the ability to work with it better. I think it's really, really good. And of course, it's in its early stages. So as the AI models itself evolve and the core AI evolve, it will only get better from here. And it's really only just begun with AI. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and get the bell on. Comment below on if you're using Krita AI and how you're going with it. And if this video helped you, let me know. If you're struggling with something with doing generations, let me know and maybe I can help you out. And I will see you in the next Streamtabulous video. Thank you for watching my video and sticking around to the end. If you like my videos, it'd really help me out if you could like and subscribe. It helps the YouTube algorithm to push my videos out there to more viewers, which in turn helps me and helps everyone. So thank you for watching my video and hanging around to the end, and I will see you in the next video.